happens? A disaster happens. Do you then go to the book to say, well, let's see, what do we do?
Well,
we first mobilize. Let's call.
No, you know,
let's call everybody together.
Keep in mind that when we talk about emergency operations centers, and I think this is where the misconnect's happening, is that at the field level, when I say field, this is at the local level, our first responders, our fire, our police, our EMS, they're all responding. There is actions being taken. Within the emergency operations centers, those are civic leaders, elected officials. They're coming there to get debriefed on the situation as far as what's going on, what have been the initiatives, what are we looking at resource-wise? Do we have enough police on site? Do we have enough fire on site? Is the situation escalating?
Okay,
so there's actions being taken already before that operation
and
center
I would
is
assume
activated.
There are guidelines in place. If it's a fire, this is what happens. If there is a certain magnitude of fire, these are how many engines we bring to the fire.
Exactly.
These are how many ambulances or emergency teams.
There's a threat level within our emergency operation plan, level 3, that if we breach our capacity as far as resources, in that word resources, I just want to clarify, resources meaning those public entities, police, public works, fire, EMS. Once it breaches that capacity of us internally being able to provide the safety to the community, that's when the emergency operations center, or before that, is activated, and we count on our neighboring counterparts or jurisdictions to help assist.
What happens, not only is East Palo Alto affected, Menlo Park is affected, Atherton is affected, and so all of those areas need their own resources.
So that's
there is an El Nino. I mean, there is a major, well, I mentioned an earthquake, that's bad enough. But
right. Well, that's the great thing about our plan, is that we're talking about multi-agency coordination, and the goal is, and I want to say goal, you know, it hasn't happened yet, but the goal is to bring those jurisdictions that the Menlo Park Fire Protection District services, Atherton, Menlo Park, and East Palo Alto, together under one umbrella to look at what the necessary resources are within that affected community, whether it's in East Palo Alto. Can we pull resources from Menlo Park? Can we pull resources from Atherton? Working together in a collaborated effort to sustain control and safety for that affected jurisdiction.
Well, you're looking at this situation now to put plans in place. What happens if something happens now before the master plan is approved?
Plans are in place. I'll let you go ahead.
We already have a plan in place. We just revised it, and we're making sure that we're on the same page with, say, East Palo Alto is on the same page with Atherton, and Atherton's on the same page as Menlo Park, and thus, matter of fact, our emergency plan itself was or is a model for those other agencies. So we already had something in place. Keep in mind, we had something in place that we could draw from, and if by chance a big earthquake or a natural disaster, El Nino, takes place, we already have a plan in place.
Okay, let's take this one step further.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Why not?
Yeah,
I was waiting for that.
You mentioned a level 3.
Increase the threat level.
Well, you mentioned a level 3.
There we go.
This involves the resources that are available from different municipalities in the city of East Palo Alto. What if this is something that affected the whole city, which we're talking about, and you had to communicate to people to leave the city? Where do they go? How do they go? What would be the scenario?
There's a lot of alert systems in place.
Well, you gotta look. You know, don't just look at what the public sector's doing. There's American Red Cross, where they have pre-identified shelters in place that is going to be built into this plan as far as where these evacuation sites
built into the plan.
Built into the plan.
It's not there yet.
It is, as far as I've seen, that's come across my desk, and once it's adopted, the city officials will review too as well. Pre-established emergency shelter sites that are set up in place if they need to evacuate. Also, schools. We utilize schools, outside of East Palo Alto's jurisdiction for shelter too as well. We can open up any public facility that deems necessary in order to meet the needs of that incident. And that's the great thing about the incident command system, is that it expands. It's a flexible system that adapts to the situation and escalates. So as as we need that resources as far as shelters, we implement a branch within that system to find what the best resources is and how we're going to achieve that.
And the ICS system is a 5-function system. It deals
and
with
ICS
incident
is?
command system. It deals with management, it deals with operations, it deals with planning and intelligence, it deals with logistics, and it also deals with the finance and administration.
So who's involved in that? And don't say all the municipalities.
Okay, then I won't.
But they all
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
and
yes, they are.
everybody knows what they're supposed
It clearly
to do.
defines a chain of command and limits the
Ah.
span of control of any one individual.
Okay, what's the chain of command? And are we talking about the chain of command in the police department, the chain of command in the fire department?
It's based on the incidents. Let's say if there's an active shooter, the area commander would be the police department because it is a situation that involves a technical expertise as far as from their administration to coordinate that process. So they would be the area commander in charge of overseeing the site and developing that incident command system as far as what they deemed necessary at the time. Now, if you're talking about the Haiti incident as far as an earthquake, then that might be a combination of police and fire in a unified system being the overall commander. So it's always based on the risk and what the hazard is at the time. It's based on who has the most expertise in that specific hazard is the overall area commander.